No. I actually wanted to ask you. I think we actually haven't talked about it yet.
What?
What do you think of the Mysterious T video? You didn't watch the first part, did you? You watched part
No,
two.
I think I may have watched. No, I didn't even watch your stream with it.
Fuck you.
Sorry.
I'm kidding.
I'm waiting.
Okay. You can continue.
I watched the second one.
Okay, so what did you... now, listen, me personally, I liked the first one a lot. I thought it was very telling, and the second one was very good at honing in on like how she lied about a lot of her trauma. She may have trauma. I'm not saying she doesn't, but it showed like the heavy inconsistencies and like absolute active lies. What did you think of it? Don't be too
I know. That's why, like, what am I even gonna say? I honestly feel like, me personally, I honestly feel like watching it, I was more, my focus was more on the video and how it was done rather than Trisha's stuff.
Why was that?
I don't know. I just feel like it was a very dramatic video.
Did you really see it as a dramatic video? I felt like it was really tame.
I don't know. I don't know. I felt like it was like more dramatic than it needed to be because Trisha is just so black and white lying that like no emphasis needs to be placed on like how or why she's lying.
Why? But
if that makes sense, or like the methods of.
But why is that not important to you?
Well, I think because like the way like some things were expressed, like were invalidating of other situations if they didn't involve Trisha.
Okay,
and like
but that's
some things were emphasized that like I just didn't care about and that like have no meaning to the lying situation. Like the whole Dr. Drew thing, like I honestly didn't see like an issue with how she responded to it.
What do you mean?
Like
well, the Dr. Drew situation, you're talking about when Dr. Drew told Trisha she didn't have schizophrenia?
Yeah.
And Trisha was just like, oh, okay. Even though she had claimed and said that she had a diagnosed schizophrenia.
And so, like, let's review, like, what is my phrasing? Trisha's stupid.
Yes.
So, like, even, like, this was Trisha's response. Dr. Drew was like, oh, like, you don't have schizophrenia, but you have these symptoms. And she was like, oh, like, I figured I had schizophrenia because like 2 doctors told me I had schizophrenia and I'm on meds that do treat people with schizophrenia.
You're right, but the 2 doctors didn't say that, or else she would have fought back and be like, no, I got diagnosed schizophrenia.
Why would Trisha though argue someone who's saying they're Dr. Drew that they're a doctor?
Because they got a diagnosis.
Yeah, but isn't Dr. Drew saying that to her another diagnosis?
Sure, but if she had 2 diagnoses, that's how you say it, of that she had schizophrenia, somebody saying you don't have that, why wouldn't she fight it and be like, well, I got the diagnosis?
Because she's stupid, baby. That's what I'm saying.
So
for us, we would say like, oh, but like these 2 people said I have it, so like I'm gonna go look at it. For Trisha, who is most likely lying about things and is pretty dumb. Sorry, Trish. Not sorry. Like, yeah, she's going to take what's in front of her.
Okay.
So, like, for her to just accept
she might need the medication.
On, she would be like, oh.
She might need the medication for something else. So you're saying that Trisha went to 2 doctors and that she went to Dr. Drew and she validates and respects Dr. Drew more than her own doctors.
She's going to validate.
I'm not. That's not a catch. I'm not trying to get you on that.
No, I know you're not. I'm furthering explaining myself. I think Trisha is going to take in like the most recent news from the most valid person she hears.
So she puts like a heavy emphasis on Dr. Drew is what you're saying.
On the most important person. If it was a different someone called Dr. Someone that said, no, Trisha, you don't have this, she would take that and
You
move
really
on.
think so?
I think so.
Okay. That's fair enough. Somebody said first time catching the stream. It's pretty good. Thank you. Not going to lie. Thank you so much, Scotty Bickford. All right. I understand what you're saying. I don't know if I necessarily agree, but I think it's a reasonable point to make.
And then I also didn't understand why it was such a big deal that she talked, for the same reason that she recorded her podcast or whatever it is right after Dr. Drew episode or whatever it is. Like there was emphasis in the Mysterious Tea video being like, oh, well, she posted this 4 days and blah, 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 which means like if Trisha was like some type of person, wouldn't you think that she would like check up, like go to a doctor?
I thought it was a
and
reasonable
discuss
point.
this and blah blah blah, and it's like no, because Trisha's stupid.
Well,
so like she's not
but
going
I
to do
understand
that.
that if somebody said that you didn't have a diagnosis of something that you thought you did, the first thing you do is say like, okay, I should go back and go back to a doctor and see if I have that diagnosis. But instead, she just instantly made a video saying, I guess I don't have this thing.
Exactly. And I think that supports my She seems like I feel like if Trisha truly is in treatment, the extent of her treatment is that she is probably doing some type of talk therapy with someone who may not even be like a professional.
That makes sense. Okay.
You know, so it seems like her actual psych treatment, because like, so like as a social worker, if I do counseling, I don't prescribe medicines. Like my clients would go to a psychiatrist.
So what you're saying is that Trisha probably she may not be on her meds, may or may not be on meds, but what you're saying is that she goes to a therapist that can't prescribe medication, which I think she said. So she said she went to a therapist that could just prescribe medication to get her meds, but so probably group therapy, because I think she's talked about group therapy. And since she was on the show with Dr. Drew, who's somebody I believe who can prescribe medication, she was like, oh, okay, well maybe I don't have this, and maybe she just like led herself to believe that she had gotten schizophrenia when she's probably in treatment for something. She's in therapy I think that she really is in therapy for like a reason. Okay, I get what you're saying. I don't know if I 100% agree, but I think it's a good point.
And like, just so you understand how things work, like people may go to talk therapy once a week, once every other week. You usually see your psychiatrist every 6 to 8 weeks.
Okay, I used to see my psychiatrist every month.
You don't have a psych.
I did when I was younger. I
thought you said you do now.
I would see a therapist once a week, and then I would go to like a psychiatrist once a month for meds.
Yeah, it depends on like what like your things that you're working with are and what your meds are. So like at work, my one girl from my favorite house, she goes monthly.
Gotcha. Okay,
but
that makes sense.
Then the other person at the house that doesn't use words to communicate, he goes every 6 to 8 weeks.
That makes sense. Okay.
So it depends on what you're dealing with. So what I'm saying about Trisha is that I'm saying that if she is actually receiving treatment, her actual psychiatric, like medical psychiatric treatment is probably happening on like a lesser occasion than talk therapy. Talk therapy is very valuable, but I feel like I'm getting complicated in what I'm saying. Basically what I'm trying to say is that I believe that Trisha would jump on whatever doctors are saying and not like really value getting second opinions and things like that.
I understand what you're saying. Trisha probably has like a very low amount of therapy. She probably has an issue to work through, but it's probably something that can be mitigated with I've said this before too. They're going to therapy rather than to help her manage her shit instead of actually needing medication, or like at least in more intensive medication. But she likes to pass it off as it's more extreme than it is. I think that's what it is. Yeah. Somebody said Trisha lied about the smell hallucinations after she found out it was a symptom. Yes.
Yeah, we saw that.
I think she lied about all the hallucinations.
But that's why I said before, like, Trisha, like, what are you saying?
Yeah, like, what are you seeing? What are you hearing? What are you
other
smelling?
than saying, like, oh, I have visual hallucinations. What are you seeing? He talked about it the other day in history, but there's that one TikToker who was like, I was in church and I was pissing my pants because there was this guy dancing and laughing and making all these faces. And I looked at my sister and was like, do you see this guy? And my sister was like, no one's there. And that's how she knew that it was a hallucination she was experiencing. And it's like Trisha has never said anything of what she's actually saying.
Right, yeah, that's true. So what else do you have a problem with, though? Or what else what else stuck out to you? Yeah.
So the Dr. Drew thing irritated me. It irritated me when she spoke about, like, how could Trisha...
I think I know what you're going to say.
How could Trisha... If this stuff is real, how could Trisha say it on the internet but not tell her family first? And to me, the reason why I had an issue with that... sorry, I'm reading one of the comments in there. It's very funny.
It's yeah. Anyway, continue.
One of the issues I have is, like, I feel like it was just putting... like, I have traumas that I've talked about on here, or he has talked about, but, like, my mother doesn't know.
Yeah.
I'm actually rather close with my mom.
Yeah.
You know, so like by her saying that about Trisha, she's pushing the point, but I think she's invalidating of the experiences of everyday people.
Yeah, so I understand what you're saying. So basically, Mysteriously did a great job at showing us the inconsistencies on Trisha, but some of the additional information, like the layered information, if it wasn't applied to Trisha, would have been invalidating of the experience. So what she was talking about is like, yeah, it's pretty common for you to not talk to your parents about an assault. Especially,
it's much easier for you to pour your heart out to a stranger in a bar than to tell your loved ones what's going on in your life.
Yeah, even even with me, like it's one of those things where I don't know if you want to talk too much about this.
About my stuff?
Yeah, I don't know about my experience with hearing you talk to me about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, like I'm sure it was upsetting for her to talk to me about it because the first reaction I got was to get really angry. And then that's not what she needs. And so imagine you say to a parent, like, what did I do wrong? Or they personalize it and it could turn into a whole mess. And I don't think Trisha plans to talk about any of her potential traumas. I think that what Trish does is she goes on the internet and just talks. And she's like, oh, I'm comfortable talking to strangers on the internet, kind of a thing. Mm-hmm. So I get what you're saying. And yeah, if to a normal person with a trauma, like that would be invalidating of their trauma to be like, oh, you must not have it because you didn't tell your mom first. And it's like, well, of course you wouldn't.
And then like the whole bit with the teacher, with him being like a veteran and a good teacher and all this, I won't go into like detail on my opinion,
no, but I know what you're
like I just found that to be invalidating as a whole as well, because basically she was doing what is that kid Brett's name that was a swimmer?
Fucking Brock Turner. Yeah, that's scumbag. Yeah,
like, oh, he was a swimmer and a great athlete.
So yeah,
for anyone else, like, we're talking about Trisha, so like she lies about things, like whatever, but just like, I don't know, I try to hold myself as being like consistent with the way like I talk about things, and I think that I am.
Yeah, I think so too.
You know, so I just feel like those moments, I understand this person was trying to like push like the evidence and like emphasize that Trisha's
it seemed
lying,
like she was just trying to.
I thought it was kind of in bad taste.
Personally.
Yeah,
so she made really good points, but then she would embellish on those points. So let me see if I can get an example.
With the teacher.
So with the teacher,
went through how like people were commenting on something, that he was a great guy.
Well, no, but even before that, she showed us that Trisha made the claim that you could just look up this teacher and find out that he got arrested for CP. And you look it up and it doesn't exist. And that's your point of like, oh, Trisha lied. But then she sprinkled other things like accolades on. It's like, well, the teacher was a vet and this and that. And it's like, if you remove Trisha from the scenario and you had just said to somebody like a sexual assault survivor that's like, well, that couldn't have happened because they were a praised Vietnam vet and a great teacher, that would be something that would be like rape apologist rhetoric. Mm-hmm. You know, and I don't think that she intended it to come off like that, but I do understand what you're talking about. I don't think so
either. So that would just be my note for moving forward. Like push.
Somebody said nice. Why the terrorist beard?
But like I was saying, that would be my note moving forward, is that like definitely make it clear of like what Trisha's discrepancies are and whatnot, but don't invalidate other survivors.
I don't think she was intending to do that though.
No, and that's what I'm saying. There was one point though that one of the, I believe, lies that Trisha's saying.
You believe the lie that she said, or
no,
you're saying a lie that you
one of the things I want to bring up is she talked about like when she was younger and when she was in school, and this like goes beyond Trisha and just like a societal thing. She said how when she was 11, she had on a bathing suit and was asked to put shorts on over it.
I know what you're talking about.
I think that is completely appropriate.
Yeah. Well, I know. Yeah, that comes into the so. She hammed it up to how she was kicked out of school for 2 years for not wearing a bra and having to wear a...
that's what else I wanted to talk about. I remember I started, and in the video, that was the other thing where, so there was another thing that the person who made the video said where she was talking about like breast growth on children and whatnot.
Yeah.
I had little boobies. When I was in first grade, I needed to start wearing a bra because my boobs started showing through my shirt when I was in first grade.
Yeah.
When I was 6 years old.
Yeah.
And so I remember, like, I went to a birthday party in the mall at Libby Lou. It was this girl, Jean Marie's birthday party, and I was wearing my bra, and I hated wearing a bra. I hate wearing a bra now. And I took off my shirt. I took off my bra at the birthday party because I was uncomfortable. And afterwards, we went back to the girl's house, and I looked in the mirror, and my little titties were showing through my shirt.
Right.
Inappropriate. So Trisha talked about like being the same age and wearing a bra and things being inappropriate.
Well,
the reason I don't think that inappropriateness is inherently means that you're being like predatorized or sexualized.
Well, yeah.
It's just like things are inappropriate enough. Like,
so I want to split this up a little bit. So first, the bra thing. So she claimed that she was kicked out of, or she kept getting sent home for not wearing a bra for from the ages of like 6 to 8. And I don't remember what Mysterious T said about that. Did she say something about that, or were we just taking?
The thing in the video, she was like, she talked about like it's very unlikely that a girl of that age has. Like,
I thought the same thing. But okay, so Trisha probably had breast growth. What it got me though is that, first of all, why is it happening for 2 years? Second of all, you'd think that somebody that's so open about their life would have mentioned why they weren't wearing a bra for 2 years. And like if she's like, yeah, they were really uncomfortable, then I'd be like, okay, that makes sense as to why you're not wearing it. But I've never seen a mention of like, that's not why I'm not wearing it. So it sounds like a made up story to me from Trisha.
The story that Trisha's telling seems to be like unrealistic to me, where like the story I told, I mean, I experienced it, but it seems if I told you that story, like you probably would believe it.
Yeah, and then also with the gym thing. So she may have been asked to wear pants over her bathing suit or whatever, or her gym clothing, because maybe she was popping out the sides. But she tried to make it seem like the reason that they told her to wear pants is because the teachers thought she was sexy. But something being sexualized doesn't make it sexy. It means that society perceives it as too sexualized. So, for instance, if I had a daughter and she was walking around naked in the house, I wouldn't be like, oh, that's sexy, you got to cover up. I'd be like, that's disgusting. Cover up. It's inappropriate.
Yeah, no, when I was younger, I can't, my dad died when I was 10, so I had to have been, and he was out of the house, I think, since I was really young, maybe like 8 or 9, yeah. So I must have been really young, and I remember he was like, I'm gonna stop doing your showers for you. Like, you're gonna have to start doing it by yourself, so I'll start the water for you.
Yeah.
And then you could get in and wash yourself. And I remember being little and being like, why can't you give me a shower anymore?
Yeah.
And it's just funny because like I thought I did something wrong, but looking back now, like I understand why. Like you're starting to create those boundaries as like a grown man and your daughter. And
you're showing your daughter to create those boundaries with other men. Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
Or I told him a story the other night with Uncle Gerard when I went ice skating for my 14th birthday party.
Go ahead.
So like my uncle, my uncle is a troll. Right? Is that how you would describe
her uncle's
him?
A ball buster.
So it was like my 14th birthday party, and we went ice skating, and it was me and all my friends. And then he came. We're very close, and he brought my little cousin, and we were on the ice. And he's a troll, so he was trying.
He's the Joker from the movie Joker.
He was trying to make me fall on the ice. So we were on our ice skates, and what he did is he took my shoulders and he shook me. And basically, I just like shimmied my boobs at him, and he
like she matched the equilibrium of it.
Yeah,
so
I wouldn't fall, and like my boobs just shook at him, and he looked at me and he was like, "Okay, I'm never doing that again," and he skated away from me.
Yeah, because that's inappropriate to shake a young girl's tits like that, especially your niece.
I think that these stories like are a way to show that like things are not of a sexual nature.
Yeah,
but there's a known way that things are inappropriate.
Yeah. Like you shouldn't shake your young niece's tits. And he's like, "Oh fuck," and then he stopped it. You know, that's but according to Trisha's logic of like it's not sexualized, it would have been appropriate for him to continuously shake your tits.
Yeah, and like for me to then claim to have been some type of assaulted, you know? And I think
go ahead.
Sorry. No, I was just going to say like with the bathing suit thing, like I know that like I am not going to let my daughter at 11 years old run around with her, like, even her ass cheeks out.
Yeah.
And I honestly wouldn't want her to be in a space where another child is running around like that.
Absolutely.
It doesn't mean that I'm attracted to that child. I just think it's inappropriate.
Yeah, I agree. Somebody said, please get Trisha on the channel and treat her like you do with Chet Goldstein. So if you don't know what that is, Chet Goldstein, that's the guy who exposed EDP
video.
But he was like, kind of that he was like,
so
he was like super racist and a piece of shit. And so, and he was really invalidating of the scenario because he made a whole joke out of it. So I brought him on and I was like, hey, do you think this is appropriate? And he lost it. When I said like, hey, you shouldn't call black people the N-word, he's like, it was just a joke and it's fine. And we argued for 40 minutes and I made him look dumb. I don't think that would happen with Trish though. I think
if Trisha ever came onto the channel, I already called it. I will.
I think Trisha's the kind of person that folds very quickly to authority.
Mm-hmm.
And I perceived authority, and I think if she came on, like I'm a generally dominate, like not, you know what I'm saying. I have a very strong presence, so she would probably not be like, it's okay for me to do that. You know what I'm saying?
I think I would have a more productive conversation with Trisha.
Maybe. Probably. I mean, I wouldn't yell at Trisha. I think that'd be really nice.
No, I don't think so either.
Somebody says, leave Trisha alone a couple hundred times. I think that's Trisha.
I honestly, like, Trisha, baby, go away. Do something better with your life. Please.
I think it's funny, though.
It's very funny. Like, I'm reading these, but, like, girl.
It just says, leave Trisha alone. I think it's really funny. Should we kick Trisha out of here, you think? Think we should?
I don't know. I honestly, like, I don't care. Like, I'm just sad.
All right, we'll put the user on a timeout. How's that? You're sad for that person?
Yeah, like...
Yeah, imagine watching, like, a stream that's critical of... Well, I think we're being pretty reasonable about Trisha, except for the parts where we're
There's
also
a little jabs. I'll own up to that.
Yeah, that's true.
I would feel bad if Trisha confronted me about it. I'd be like, you know what? Like, I have been mean to you, and I'm sorry. But I would also look at her and tell her she's dumb. So...
That's true. Okay, did you have any more criticisms of it?
I feel like that's pretty much the gist of it.
I think overall it did a great job exposing the specific lies about Trisha. And for me, like, I think one of the worst things you can do is falsely label somebody a child predator. And I think that he needed defending, especially since he's a dead man that can't do anything about it.
Yeah, and I think that was a great point of when she like Googled exactly what Trisha told people to Google, and an article does come out about someone being arrested because I did the same thing. Like she said in one of the videos that she's on a certain schizophrenic med. So what I did is I looked up the actual med to see what it was, and then I looked up when you look up the med, it says like schizophrenic med for adults. So then I Googled schizophrenic med for adults, and when you look up the WebMD, it's one of the medications listed.
Yeah, okay.
So like what I believe is that Trisha is...
There's another person in here spamming the same thing.
I believe that Trisha is like looking up things quickly. So like I wanted to go through that method of like, okay, she's saying she's on this med, so where does she know? If she's not on this med, how does she know about it?
Yeah. So she might have just
So I thought that was very smart that Mysterious T did that in the video. You know?
Yeah, it's one of those things where she's either on the med and just associated it with schizophrenia, or she just looked up meds for schizophrenia and then she decided she was on it. It's one of those two things. Yeah. Overall, I love the Mysterious T video. I think I would like to have her
eat it up.
I love it. She's married.
I am looking forward to the Jason video.
I'm not married.
I'm
just kidding.